Hey everybody, I'm Jonathan Randall and welcome to my new podcast, How You Like Me Now. I am really excited to be kicking this off. I got my producer, Phil Risden, over here. Thanks for coming down, Phil.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Is it okay for me to call you my producer? I feel like Phil's like, listen, we're not exclusive, buddy. I'm a lot of people's producers. And I'm just like, no, you're my producer.
It's all good.
I'm feeling pretty good. I have completely healed from when I got beat up by a bunch of pro-choice protesters, which was very weird for me, especially because I am pro-choice. And yes, and they like bruised my ribs. I was like hurting for over a month. It was horrible. It makes no sense, by the way, why they beat me up, but they did. And a lot has happened to me ever since it, actually. I got like a job in corporate America, and I was like, was that the beginning of my downfall? I feel like getting beat up by pro-choice protesters is like how I started becoming a Republican or something. And now I got a job in corporate America. It's very weird. It's hard for me that I have like this real job now. I've just been doing like comedy and acting work for so long, and I'm not getting where I want to go in comedy and acting, and even with podcasting. Me and Phil met with this other podcast that I was trying to do, What's Really Good Though, and then my co-host backed out after like 4 episodes because it wasn't successful, which is really crazy to me, but we put in time and effort. Thankfully, at least it brought me and Phil together, so now we are doing this. It's amazing, but now I'm also working, and it's so weird to me because I feel like I can't succeed. I can't get further in life in the things that I really care about that are really important to me. But I'm working this job, and it's like a week into this job, I get a 50% raise. They like put me in charge of everything. I have like all this responsibility. I'm like the venue manager for like this pretty big art exhibit, and it's kind of crazy that like this is happening, and like I can't help but succeed in this thing, and it's just like a mind fuck for me that like the things I don't care about at all, I just succeed so much, and the things that like really matter to me, I can't get anywhere. It's absolutely insane, but I'm still trying. I'm here. I'm doing this new podcast, sharing my ideas, my thoughts, my perspectives, and a lot of things are going on. First of all, I got to talk about this. Of course, we all know what's been happening right now with Kanye and his anti-Semitism and all the idiocy that he's been spewing. So in this exhibit that they actually have a jukebox. And one of the songs they had in the jukebox was a Kanye song. And I was like, oh no, they're not keeping this song in here, Like I took the song out. I don't really have the authority to take the song out, by the way, but I took the song out. Yeah. And then what I really want to do is I want to replace the Kanye song with Hava Nagila. Arguably the most famous Jewish song ever. So anytime anyone comes to the jukebox and wants to play Kanye, Hava Nagila will come on, right? Yeah. I think that would be hilarious. But then I realized that if people go and they try to play Kanye and Hava Nagila comes on, they really are going to be, the Jews do control the media, Like I feel like it's not a good idea. But the world's a crazy place right now. Besides, anti-Semitism being spewed from a lot of different people, whether it's Kanye or some dumb basketball player. I think the world's moving more towards even a worse bigoted place, because apparently one of the people that I dislike most in this whole world, Donald Trump, is going to be announcing his new run for presidency in 2024 on like November 12th. I hope it's not true, but I think it's inevitable that this man will be president again. It kills me to say that. I'm like, I don't want to manifest anything. I don't want to make Trump become the president, but like it's pretty, like it's gonna happen, and it's almost like I feel like America almost deserves more Trump. And I feel like we need Trump to come just so like we really can just totally implode. And like maybe like after that, there will be like this great reset that people have talked about in the past, and that's going to happen. And I feel like if anyone's going to bring it on, it's going to be Trump. And like, how can Trump not win almost? Because like, who do the Democrats have? We have nobody. And like, I consider myself a Democrat, even though like, I don't know, I feel like I'm more like in the middle these days, because liberals have just gone like off the fucking rails. I feel like, first of all, I don't understand, liberals are just like so annoying. I feel like Republicans are appalling, and liberals have just become so annoying. And I don't know why people love Trump, but they are like addicted to Trump. There are so many conservatives who are just like addicted to Trump, even though he's horrible for them. He's horrible for everything. Trump's like, he's like cigarettes or something, you know? And instead of being addicted to the nicotine, people are just addicted to the drama. And they don't care. They're like, it feels so good. I don't care if it's killing me. But Trump is absolute worst. But we got nobody. The Republicans got nobody. Biden might not even live long enough for a second term. And even if he does, like, he sucks. Kamala Harris, nobody likes her. Like, who do we have? We have nobody, unless like Jon Stewart steps up and like runs for president, or like Bill Maher or somebody. I feel like we got to get rid of both of these parties. We need another party or something. Like, politics are just fucked, and I can't believe that it is an extreme possibility that Trump is going to be president again. And if not him, it's going to be like DeSantis, which isn't like much better. Like, you know, I like, is he the lesser of two evils? We just don't know, because like he hasn't been the president yet, and Trump was the president, and like he was fucking awful. So yeah, it's gonna be a sad state of affairs. But I don't know, hopefully Trump won't run, but I'm pretty sure he will. And I feel like if he does run, he is definitely gonna win, and it's gonna be very sad. All right, we had a bit of technical difficulties, but we're back. This is the first time we're using this studio. This is amazing. We're recording this on Bowery in New York City. I don't know if you could hear the cops in the background, but they are here. We are in this really cool building called the Dow, which where the Supreme store is. They have amazing art spaces here. It's an amazing place for creativity, and so psyched to be one of the first podcasts to be recording in this studio on the Bowery, New York, very close to the Lower East Side. I'm so excited and happy to be here. We got Phil, my producer. I'm calling him that even though he doesn't think that he's only my producer, but I'm like, and breaking out the Whitney Houston. Phil, you know, Phil was a little late today, and this is like a pet peeve of mine, Phil. It's not just with you, but this happens to me on dates all the time, where like I'm supposed to meet a girl like a certain time, and then at the time I'm supposed to meet her, she'll text me that she's late, and I'm like, I know you're late. You're not fucking here right now. You're not supposed to text somebody when you're already late that you're late. You're supposed to text them like before you are going to be late that you are going to be late. That is just kind of like, I feel like a common courtesy to have for people. Like, you don't text someone 10 minutes after you're late. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm running late. Like, yeah, I know, you know? So I feel like if people are out there, like, don't do that. You know, if you're going to be late, it's cool. Things happen, especially in New York City with the subway. I mean, Phil was dealing with some fire in his building apartment. Like, that's horrible. You know, totally, you can be understanding, but that's what, as long as you text the person or call them and say, hey, listen, I'm sorry, I'm running late, but before you're actually going to be late. So, you know, I was mentioning dating. I guess I am dating. I'm trying to date. I was seeing this woman for a little while. At first, I wasn't like really that into her, but she was making so much effort with me that I was like getting more and more into her. Like, I was really digging that. Like, the older I get, the more important it is for me is the effort somebody makes. You know, if you're going to make a lot of effort with me, then I'm going to want to make that effort back, and I'm going to appreciate that. So, you know, she was super nice on my birthday. She showed me the most amazing birthday. We were having the best time, and I was getting more and more into this girl. But then I feel like the more interested I was getting in her, all of a sudden the less effort she started making. Isn't this like, this is how it works in the world? When, you know, when you don't give a shit, they are trying so hard. When you start giving a shit, they, you know, try even less. So now, you know, I haven't really been seeing her. I'm back on the apps. I'm dating again. I actually matched with like 2 girls I was quasi interested in. I feel like, you know, I used to be a lot more open. You know, I'm just down to party and meet girls and like go out and see what happens. But now I'm being like a little more selective, because I really would like to meet somebody special in my heart, and somebody that I could share my life with. But it didn't work out with either of these 2 girls. We didn't get past a couple of messages. One girl, so I asked her after a couple of messages, like, what band was she really into in high school? What was it? I thought it was a cool question. And she said, thank you, Phil. And she said Incubus. Which I'm like, ugh, a little bit of a red flag right there, Incubus. But then joking back, I wrote back, oh, I thought I sensed the darkness in you. Hilarious joke, by the way. Instant unmatch on that joke.
That's funny.
I thought it was funny. I gotta watch the jokes I make, because then with this other girl, she was asking me like what I do or whatever, and I was telling her, I'm a performer and I'm a writer, and I was telling her how I'm the venue manager right now in this art exhibit, and she was like, "Oh my God, that sounds so interesting." And I wrote back, "What are things people never say when they hear a fart?" And I thought again, like, so funny. And then she like wrote a response, like I was asking her that question, and I was like, no. I was making a joke about the interesting thing, instant unmatch. So, so I'm on the apps. It's hard though. The apps are the worst. I just want to meet women in real life, but I feel like we are in a place where like you have to be very careful, because people are very sensitive. A lot of women, they don't want to be approached. You got to be careful when you approach. It's funny because I feel like when I was a younger man, I used to be like, don't be a pussy, like go talk to that girl, like try to build up my confidence to go like approach somebody randomly on the street. And now when I see girls, I'm like, don't be a creep and go talk to that girl, like I don't, I always tell myself, Jonathan, you don't have to talk to every pretty girl that you see on the street, but like, what's the alternative is the dumb apps, at least on the apps, like people are there to meet somebody, when someone's just like walking on the street, they may not necessarily be like want to be approached. I actually got approached on the subway and recognized on the subway a week ago, which was very exciting to me. And it was very weird because this very beautiful girl got on the train and she sat right next to me. And I just was I was like looking at her for a minute. I don't know, there was something about her, And then in my head, I was like, don't be a creep, Jonathan. You don't have to talk to everybody. And she turned to me and she goes, "Hey, are you that guy that always talks about Palestine?" And I'm like, well, my name's Jonathan, but yes, I guess I am. I care very deeply about the plight of the Palestinian people. I feel like, Palestinian fundamental human rights are very important. And I just hate, some of the behavior and actions that Israel has committed, a lot of the actions they've committed over the years, and how that has, reflected other Jews like myself who don't stand by them and don't want that. And I personally want a peaceful coexistence. I believe in a two-state solution. But then I was talking to this girl and, we were talking about Palestine a little bit and talking about the videos that I make and, how it's hard for me because a lot of, Palestinian people, a lot of Muslim people, a lot of people who I kind of share some views with, they also, express these views of like, oh, how could Palestinians ever have peace with the Israelis that have oppressed them for so long, have, done such horrible things to them? And like, listen, that is not an easy task, not a hard thing to swallow. But then again, how has the black community done that with white people? How have Native Americans done that? How have basically anyone in society has done that? Colonization didn't start with Israel and Palestine. That's what happens in the world. And, we have to, while I do think Israel has committed a lot of atrocities and has done wrong, I don't think that Palestine is 100% innocent. And I do think, though, that there has to be an effort to move forward to a better future instead of just being obsessed about the horrible things that happened in the past, I mean, when it comes to the Holocaust, those Jews have this saying, never forget. And sure, we're never going to forget what the Germans did, but we're not going to hate every German forever for the rest of eternity and be like, how are we ever supposed to get along with these Germans when what they did to us? Like, we have to find a better way to move forward so we all have a better future together. And that's how I feel. So I was expressing that with this lovely woman who actually said to me that she had seen me before walking around the neighborhood of Soho. And I was like, oh, I wish she would have approached me. And she finally did. And we were talking a lot. And then I was like, should I like ask her for her number? But I'm like, don't be a creep. We're having this great philosophical conversation. I didn't, but I do hope I bump into that girl again. I guess, maybe that's a better way for me to meet somebody. But I definitely hope to. I definitely want to.
Good luck.
Thank you, Phil. I appreciate. It's hard because I have some red flags. Like I went out with this girl this week, and she asked me, she's like, "What are your red flags?" I'm like, "I don't know." She's like, "What would your ex-girlfriend say your red flags were?" And one of my ex-girlfriends, she hated that I smoked weed. She hated it. So it's like that I smoke weed, and she was like, "That's not a red flag." And I was like, "I know. Tell that to my ex-girlfriend. That is not a red flag." she's like, what else is a red flag? And by the way, my girlfriend, she did not like that I smoked weed. She got all bent out of shape. One of the last straws in our relationship was we went to Hershey Park. And I smoked a joint before we went to Hershey Park. And she was all mad. I'm like, what other time would you need to smoke a joint? Before you go to Hershey Park, this is the best time to smoke a joint. I was like, anyways, that was unfortunate. But my other red flag, and I feel like this is like a bit of a sensitive topic, and people hear this about me, and it's like, ugh, like it turns them off immediately. It's probably going to turn people off to this podcast, but I don't care. My other red flag is that I'm not really into dogs. I'm not into dogs. I don't like dogs. I don't care about dogs. I don't want to date a girl with a dog. They're just so annoying. I gotta go home and walk my dog. Oh, about my dog. My dog. I don't care about your dog, It's like people really look down on you when you say like you don't look like dogs. And it's like, I'm sorry that I don't want to revolve my whole life around some animal, I just love myself. I'm not looking for love for some creature whose shit I'm gonna clean up for like ever, That's how I feel. It's such a big part of people's lifestyle. They got to always go walk their dog, care for their dog, take care of their dog. And I feel like it's a lot because people want to feel that unconditional love that they feel from an animal. But you know what? I love myself. I'm trying to give myself more unconditional love. And it's not easy for me because I don't always love myself. Sometimes I really fucking hate myself, but I'm trying to love myself more. I've been like telling myself I love myself a lot, like in the mornings and in the evening times. Like when I wake up, I'm like, I love you, Jonathan. Before I go to bed, I'm like, I love you, Jonathan. I was thinking though, like how weird would it be if I was like telling myself I love myself when I was masturbating? When I'm just jerking off and I'm like, I love you, Jonathan. I love you, Jonathan. Like, I don't know if I should do that. But, I was talking about, comedy and my love for comedy and like being a comedian and performer. And unfortunately, my career isn't really going the way I want to. And it's been, a struggle for me, especially the last like 2 months where I'm working this job and I'm like succeeding in this job. And all my coworkers love me. And, I have such a presence in this gallery and everybody's high-fiving me when I walk through the place. It's true. I'm like a celebrity here. All the security guards and there's like these brand ambassadors there. And I'm just like, oh, but why can't I like get this far? Like, why can't I feel this sort of success in my comedy career? But then one of these kids that's a brand ambassador, I guess he came up to me one day and he's like, hey man, you're a comedian, right? I was like, yeah. And he's like, dude, I was in this commercial with you. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember. And I guess we were in some bad commercial. I don't even think I was actually in the commercial. I was like a glorified extra in the commercial. Okay. And like it was such a lame commercial that like I made sure to be like off camera like the whole time. So like I just got paid to be there, but I'm not in that dumb commercial, thankfully. Yeah. But I guess this guy was asking me about comedy, he wanted to get the comedy, and I suggested an open mic, and I was encouraging to be in comedy, just because I am a nice guy. And he was there, and then he came up to me a couple weeks later and he's like, yo dude, I really got to thank you. If it wasn't for you, I really wouldn't have gotten involved in comedy, and I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I feel like, you really helped me get there, and I really appreciate it. He said, thank you, and like, it meant so much to me. It really touched me, even though now he's saying, thank you for getting me in comedy, but when he's in comedy, as long as I am, he's gonna be like, that Jonathan Randall ruined my life. Why did he do that? Why did he tell me to get into comedy? I wish I didn't do that. It's so hard. It's so horrible. But hey, that's the way life is, you look at something one way and then you look at it another way. I was reading about like some ancient proverb or whatever where it's some guy and it's like his son's in the field and then his son loses his hand and there's like everyone's like, oh my god, your son lost his hand, that's so horrible. And he's like, we'll see. And then like they come to like recruit his son to be in the army and he can't be in the army because he doesn't have an arm, and he's like, oh, you see, now it's good he lost an arm, but he didn't lose his life for going to die in the army. And that's true. That's the way things go, like one day something could be horrible and the next day that horrible thing could turn into something good, or it could be the other way around where you think something is so amazing, awesome in your life, and then it spirals into something horrible.
Very true.
Yeah.
Or something can be terrible and then get so much worse.
That could happen too. We hope it doesn't, but it does happen all the time. So another thing about me, I guess, I'm kind of like, I'm into nerd stuff. I'm a bit of a nerd, and I guess I wanted to do like a part of the podcast about like what I'm nerding out on right now. And I think what I'm nerding out on right now is the show Andor on Disney Plus.
Love that show.
Such a great show. Oh my God. It's like, set in the Star Wars universe. It's with Diego Luna. And I guess it's his character from Rogue One or something. Yeah. And it's a really cool show. And I think I was kind of into it, but then like he got sent to like some prison and like some weird thing. And it's just like a Star Wars prison and like Andy Serkis is in it. And it's so cool. I love the whole like, he's trying to figure out how to escape to the prison and just how like these prisons are. It's like a work prison where they're like, they all have to like work and they have to like make all this stuff. Anyways, I'm totally nerding out about Andor.
Can I hold on. Can I just say one thing about the prison?
Sure. What do you got to say, Phil?
As as he was
Phil got up from the producer stand to get even closer to the mic to talk about the prison, by the way.
Yes, because I feel like this needs.
Oh, you can see the back of his head in the video.
I'm saying this because I feel like it needs to be spoken about. Like when you watch them in the prison, aren't you just like, yeah, I can work at that prison?
Oh, really?
That's how I feel like. I'm like, yo, like if like murdering somebody or doing something terrible would lead to like that type of prison, I'd be fine. I think I get scared of like if you do something wrong, you're gonna get beat up in prison. You know what I mean? You possibly get assaulted in other ways.
Raped. That's the worst part about going to prison. Yes, let's just put it out there. No one wants to get raped in prison.
No one's getting raped in the Andor.
I mean, no one wants to get raped anywhere, but no one's getting raped in Andor prison. You're right. It's not like all of a sudden it turns into Oz or something.
It's not. It's like everybody gets their own cabin. It's nice.
Oh yeah, they get a little area. There's some like weird stuff about like the floor.
Yeah, it's like I could stab somebody for this.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. I love it. Like, hey, if I'm going to get sentenced to prison, I want it to be a sci-fi Star Wars prison come up with by Tony Gilroy. Yeah. So, yeah, check out Andor if you didn't. I like the show a lot. I guess one thing I feel like I want to wrap up the podcast with is something that I've noticed that I don't like is when people say, thank you so much. I feel like thank you's enough. We don't need the so much, It's like that's how much we're into excess in America that we're even doing that with our thank yous. It's like I'm saying thank you to so much. Someone that's just doing their fucking job, Like you go get a drink or something and they serve it to you and you're like, thank you is enough. You don't have to be like, thank you so much. And by the way, when a white girl says thank you so much, to me it means she doesn't mean the thank you at all right? Thank you so much. It's like, fuck you. Fuck you. So I feel like I just want to start now. Let's just say thank you, everybody. Thank you is enough. Listen, if somebody saves your life, if it's a paramedic or a doctor, say thank you so much, all right? If it's a barista at Starbucks, thank you is enough. All right, hey, I'm Jonathan Randall. Check me out on Instagram and TikTok at Jonathan Randall. You can also check me out on Tinder, of course. And hey, how you like me now?